Hello there, Sorry from 17 once again. This is my Call of Duty 4 Remastered veteran walkthrough. This is the third mission. It is Charlie Don't Surf, which I think is a reference to, doesn't Robert Duvall say that in Apocalypse Now? It's one of those Vietnam movies. I'm not entirely too sure. It's been ages since I've seen them. This is the level that I tested on the 360 to see the difference, and I immediately felt it in this room. You see that shot just then? That would have put me to death screen. Not dead, but one bullet away from death. So take a shot, because that wasn't COD 4. See that? That doesn't happen on Veteran on COD 4. You go immediately to red screen. You barely ever take a bullet that doesn't put you to death's door. You can generally sometimes take one or two before it happens, but they're hitting you with automatic weapons, and that's why it happens so quickly. They seem to have added this interim damage period that makes your survivability way more likely. And there's a couple of guys in that room, but you can bait them out with a grenade. There's a guy in that room and a guy in the room to the left, so I'm going to chuck a couple of grenades. One of the best things about this campaign is when you run over bodies, they replenish grenades. Not all of them, but some of them. And you can continually have a resource to use, and you can be tactical. And using grenades in this game is tactical, and it feels great. Be very careful doing this. Like just then, why didn't I get shot? COD 4, I would have got shot. Take a shot. Just then, I might have been okay because I hit him and maybe it affected his accuracy. But it is night and day different if you play the original version of this game and then you play this one. So much so, if I had known just how easy this was, I wouldn't have covered this version. I would have covered the old version and called it a remastered walkthrough. Because, to be completely frank, guys, this version's a joke in comparison, and I don't want to say that to offend you if you're struggling, because that's not what I'm trying to say. This game can still kick your ass, but it will not kick your ass like the original did, because the original had its foot up your ass when you were born. Like just now, that's the closest we've seen of this game being like the original just then. And there are a couple of things that you can do to avoid those moments. There's a mechanic known as, it's a technique, known as pre-firing. This became incredibly popular in the multiplayer, because connection in Call of Duty, especially the older ones, is king. If you're on a lesser connection to somebody else, it doesn't matter if you aim better, it doesn't matter if you shoot first, you can still lose. So what people started to do is incorporate techniques to help them win firefights before the firefight even began. And one of them, thanks to the bullet penetration and just how quick you die in Call of Duty 4, was pre-firing. This is a technique that's existed before this game. It's probably been around for a millennia. The dinosaurs did it, I'm sure. But if you're not aware of it, it's a good technique to know. And it is the idea of shooting as you turn a corner and buffering your shots before you even get to your intended target. Like if you know there's somebody round a corner, you start firing as you turn the corner, and you have that immediate initiative, that first strike potential to put a bullet on them, then see them, and then aim down sights, and then finish them off. A lot of people in multiplayer games will aim first and then shoot. There are certain people who shoot first then aim, because the game has taught you to do these certain techniques because they were successful. They're not always successful, and they're not going to make you a night-to-day better player. Look at this, by the way. This doesn't happen in COD 4. If you were where I was then with all those people spawning, like, see that? He's got a shotgun. Take a shot. I should have died. Didn't die. I'm wallbanging the tits off these as well because this is a part of a map from Ambush. This level uses Ambush's geometry, or Ambush uses the game's geometry. So I'm very familiar with this kind of setting, and I'm very familiar with just how pliable those fences are. So you can get a lot of kills by simply shooting through cover. And when in doubt, hold the trigger in this game. See what I'm doing there? I'm going back into cover, but I'm still firing, because if I see hit markers, I'm still hitting that guy, and he will die. Wallbanging on this game is incredibly powerful. And if you don't know what wallbanging is, it's just the idea of shooting through cover. This game implemented this idea that you were not safe through thin walls and through certain surfaces. And every other shooter before this, if you put anything between you and your enemy, they would miss because of the hit scanning wouldn't be able to register on your body outside of latency. This game changed it. This game made it so that when people hide at the side of a doorway to get out of the way of your shots, you could fire into that doorway and put that person down. And it was such an interesting and amazing piece of technology that it blew me away. And you know what blows me away now is how little they've done with it since this game. Like, I just covered Infinite Warfare, and half the shit I shot at, I couldn't shoot through. And we're using space laser guns in the future, where everything should go through everything, And, like, it doesn't make sense to me. This is ambush right here, if you don't know. And this is also another moment where, if this was COD 4, I would be getting killed. But I'm not, because this game is weird, so take a shot. But as soon as your team turn up here, you can go behind me towards the broadcast studio, and that's another area where you're going to question the difficulty, because I know I bloody did. So the broadcast studio on the original game was a difficult section on Veteran because there are people above you, there are people all around you, and they infinitely spawn unless you push forward. This is back in the days where infinite spawns were par for the course. They made the game feel more hectic than it was, they made it feel more involved than it was, and they were absolute dog shit, and I never liked them. All it does is breed a playstyle where you rush checkpoints and you don't shoot things because shooting things becomes pointless. It diminishes the value of the combat in the game, but I understand why they did it, and I can respect it even though I don't like it. So in the broadcast room, you had to be aggressive, but being aggressive got you killed. And I'll always remember, I run at the very beginning, throw a flashbang into the middle of the room to stop anybody trying to shoot me. I get into a little room off to the right, which is a spawning point for enemies, and they can't spawn there because I'm stood there. I wait for my screen to regenerate, and then I chuck another flashbang, and I run to the right, all the way forward. I get hit a few times, and I go into the right again, kill the people that are just standing there, because there's generally about 2 or 3, and then I sit by a door which is a spawn point, denying a spawn, and waiting for my team to push up and open the door, and I take no involvement in the battle whatsoever, and that was the strategy that I figured out to get through the broadcast room with the littlest effort possible. And watch what I do here. So this is me trying to do the strat. Run over to the door I just mentioned. No one shoots me. A couple people spawn there, throw a grenade, do a hip fire. Nobody shoots me. One person shoots me. 2 guys here, nobody's shooting me. No one is shooting me. This is not Veteran. This is not COD 4. This is something else. This is the thing imitating COD 4, but it ain't it. This is Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Slither, Faculty, whatever you want to quote. This is not the game you remember, guys. They've changed this game. And once you're here, all you do is wait. Because you'll wait for your team will come and open the door in front of you because you're incapable of opening doors in this game. And there you go. That's the broadcast room done. Have you beat that on the original on Veteran? That room is a nightmare. If you got through it without any problems, you got lucky, son. Room's a fucking nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Not too sure about the depth of field here. Look how blurry it makes that wall look. There's some really strange depth of field stuff here in this game. You notice it a lot when I was playing. I don't remember it so much in the original. But it definitely was bugging my eyes out every so often. And I get bored here because I don't know if this is going to work because it's been a long time since I've done this strategy, so I start kind of eke my way out. You don't have to. Your team will clear up the people. And it outlines one of the issues with the AI in these early games. The AI knows exactly where you are at all times. And it's bad. It's just not good. They don't have to see you. They don't have to acquire a target before they can kill. They just know. And there's a wonderful section coming up on the Macmillan Defense part, which is a very difficult part of this game, and it's difficult in the remaster too, where I sit behind a building, and there's bullet holes going to the left and the right of me, as the AI is so accurate and knows exactly where I am, even though there's no way they could know. They're shooting through the geometry to hit me, because they know exactly where I am. And it's a bit silly, and I really hope we move away from that. But at the same time, I don't want it to get to the point where the enemy's so retarded that they just never notice you. You know, that's bad. We need a balance of them having to find you before they can kill you, but if they do find you, they're lethal. There's a lot of moments in this remaster that I found really fun, where I'm rushing through buildings, and I'm trying to find targets, and I'm running into a room, looking or checking all my corners, and I see a guy, and I spray him down, and he hits me once, and I'm close to death, and I'm good, and I move into the next one, and it happens again, and it's this really taut and tense but fun encounter. That wouldn't happen in the original COD 4, because you would have been killed. You can still do it incrementally, but you can't do it to the same way. And that's another area where I knew that something was different with the difficulty, because if you go into a room, and you don't know where the targets are, but the targets are there, you're gonna die. You had to know where they were. There was no going into a room, looking around and finding your target because he'd already killed you. And that's the game you were playing. And you played to compensate for the fact the game was that punishing. This game isn't. You can go into a room and a guy will not shoot you, and then you see him and then he starts shooting you. It's weird what they've done. They've added some kind of compensation mechanic that adds a whole host of fairness in a game that cheated. And it's bizarre to me. But thank you for watching, and you take care now.